Sing on, yeah. Sing on, yeah.
Okay, welcome to the tour of Singing from Scratch. This is Michael Graves, your instructor, and what I want to do today is not only introduce Singing from Scratch and how it works and myself, but more importantly to introduce you to how Singing from Scratch works and how I teach. This is actually what I want to do here is see if we are actually a good fit for each other, if I am the right teacher for you and if you're the right student and so forth. Now, the reason I say this is because Singing from Scratch is unlike any other singing course or singing lessons or vocal lessons that you have probably ever taken before. And I mean this in a way that most singing lessons and most vocal lessons and vocal coaches will address you as you are and give you some tricks and give you some pointers and little exercises that you can do to improve a specific area or a specific way of singing or so forth and so on, right? And that's not really what Singing from Scratch is all about. Singing from Scratch is a more totally encompassing type of approach to learning how to sing and teaching how to sing. The fact of the matter is that with Singing from Scratch, what I'm doing is I'm giving you the absolute rock bottom fundamentals and basics and exercises or drills and practice routines that you can do to not only learn the basics of singing, but also to then use these to continually improve yourself as a singer in any area of singing that you want, in any genre of singing you want, in any way you want to approach any type of singing, right? Because the fact of the matter is that there are only 6 elements of singing. You can see them over here to the left here of the screen. And the first element, second element, third element, fourth, and so forth, right? And these elements of singing are the first element of singing, which is you, the second element of singing, which is conceptual placement, the third element of singing, which is pitch, the fourth element of singing, which is resonance, and the fifth element of singing, which is shaping, and the sixth element of singing, which is dynamics. There is nothing else on this planet that has anything about there's nothing else on this planet that has to do with singing that cannot be addressed and increased your ability with inside these 6 elements. What I mean to say is, these 6 elements of singing encompass everything there is about singing, period. And all of the drills and exercises within Singing from Scratch are designed for you to not just learn that one thing, but to learn that one thing and then continue to use these tools to increase your ability with that one thing, building upon that one thing, the next thing, and so forth and so on. Now, the best way to describe Singing from Scratch and how it benefits the student is to bring up a movie called Karate Kid. Now, if you haven't seen Karate Kid, you probably should. It's a good movie. I like the original myself, but the second one apparently is good. I actually haven't seen it. Now, in Karate Kid, there's this kid named Daniel, and he moves to a new school. And when he gets to this new school, he's been taking karate, so forth and so on, and kind of reading books on it and so forth. But he gets to this school, and there is a bully there who is a black belt in karate with a dojo. I think it's Cobra Kai is a dojo or something of that nature. And so him and his buddies pick on Daniel, and they get into a fight. And then while Daniel is getting his butt kicked, this strange shadow of a man comes in, a little man comes in and saves him by beating up the other students, and that is Mr. Miyagi. Now, Daniel then says to Mr. Miyagi, "Hey, listen, I want you to teach me how to do karate." And Mr. Miyagi refuses. And so he keeps bugging him, and finally Mr. Miyagi says, "Okay, come back a certain time tomorrow, and I will start your karate training." So Daniel shows up, and Mr. Miyagi immediately puts him to work waxing and washing cars. Wax on, wax off in a specific manner, with his hands. And then he has him painting his fence and then sanding the floor of his deck. And he has him do this every day and every day and every day. And Daniel starts to get a little ticked off. Like, why am I doing all of this crap? Well, little did Daniel know that the motions that he was going through and the things that he were doing were actually teaching him the muscle memory of perfect karate defense. And he demonstrates this to Daniel by Daniel finally flips out and says, hey, why aren't you, what's this deal? Why aren't you teaching me karate? And he shows him. He says, Daniel, he basically starts throwing punches, and Daniel starts defending without even know he's defending. His arms just start doing the motions. And that's because the motions themselves and those very basic fundamentals and those very seemingly tedious actions that he was doing was teaching him the muscle memory of karate. Now, singing from scratch can be, at times, like that. The drills may seem very basic. The information may seem very fundamental. But the point that I'm trying to make is that when I teach you these fundamentals, and when I teach you these basics, you are learning the rock bottom fundamentals that you will automatically be able to incorporate into yourself as a singer and then build from there. Okay? That's what singing from scratch is all about. Singing from scratch is teaching you what you need to know to develop yourself into the best singer that you could possibly be. All right, so let's go and take a look at this thing. The best way to look at this is to look at it from the bottom up, from where you want to go. You want to be a professional singer with a professional singing voice that's doing a lot of vibrato and control and singing dynamically and really making it into an art form. Okay? Well, that's what the sixth element of singing is. The sixth element of singing is going over a pitch vibrato, amplitude or volume vibrato, and then using volume and vibrato for emotional expression. Okay? Now, that's the very end. That's where you're getting this is the very end of what you need to learn. Because before that, you need to learn how to shape your sound. You need how to mix your voices. You need to learn how to create the accents that create the genres. If you're doing blues, if you're doing country, if you're doing rock, if you're doing alternative rock, it doesn't matter. Whatever type of genre of music you're singing, you need to shape the sound and shape the vowels and create the resonances in your voice, the way the sound vibrates, and how to mix those. But before that, we need to understand what is resonance. Okay? Well, that's the fourth element of singing. And that's where we get into the three voices or the three vocal zones of resonance. Okay? Because actually, you only have one voice. There is no such thing as a head voice. There is no such thing as a chest voice, because if you have a brain, there's no resonance happening up in your head. If you have lungs and a heart and so forth, there's no resonance happening in your chest, right? You have one voice. You have the vocal cords. Those vocal cords are controlled by specific muscles that create the sound. And then that sound then vibrates or resonates within your throat and then your mouth and then your nose or your nasal cavities. Okay, that's where the actual resonances are happening. And then, so you have, like I said, the throat and mouth and nose voice. And of course, each one of these has their own singing drills and so forth and so on. But before I get to that, if you're resonating well, that's fine. But how about singing in tune? Now, singing in tune is pretty self-explanatory, right? It sounds like it. You're either singing in tune or you're not. But what is singing in tune? What are you really doing? What notes are you singing in relation to other notes from your middle of your range, your natural note, that help you to master pitch? What is pitch? Okay? What are notes? And this is what we get into in here, and I'll dig into these coming back the other way in a minute. But before you can sing in tune, how do you even know what singing in tune is, right? Is how are notes placed in relation to others? How do you think about doing that? Because we think about everything, or we get a mental picture of everything we're going to do before we do it. If I say go to the store, you instantly can see in your mind getting up, grabbing your keys, going to the door, opening the door, walking out to your car or to the bus or however you get to the store, or walking down to the store, and you walk and you go to the store and you're there. Now that entire sequence of events happens in a specific manner, happens in a specific step, happens in a specific way. Okay? So you are actually getting the idea in your mind before you even do that. When I say go to the store, what do you see? You see those steps. Now, you don't see getting up, driving down the road, then going out the door, then being at the store, then getting in your car, then walking into the store. Okay, those are out of sequence. So you have to get the correct concept of something before you do it. Anything that you do. And that includes singing. Okay, because singing, and the second element of singing, which is conceptual placement, is getting the concept of where to place the notes properly in your mind before they actually leave your mouth. If you can sing a little bit, let's say you can already sing in tune, but you can't control it very well, and you have a hard time hitting specific notes, in particular runs, or any kind of scales, or any song that you're doing. It's because you don't have a complete understanding and picture, A, of where the notes are to be placed in relation to the other notes, and then B, getting the muscle memory of what it feels like to produce those notes. And that's where we get into it here in the second element of singing and in the third element of singing. These two combined are all about singing in tune, getting the idea and then singing it. And of course, the first element of singing is all about you. This is where we're going to handle things like stage fright, very important, breath control, and then the vocal mechanics. What are vocal cords? Okay, what does how does this all work? Okay, now let's start from the top to get into the tour here a little bit deeper. Obviously, when you get into the introduction, what I'm going to do is I'm going to welcome you. I'm going to give you an overview of the 6 elements of singing, and then importantly here is the structure and understanding, or how to study this course. And as you can see here, this one's text, this is a video, and then we have the download. All right, now the download portion in the introduction is very important, because what I give you is you download the complete glossary, the image pack, all the images I use, and the transcript so that you can study these offline. So you can print these out and you can study them in front of your piano or your guitar or so forth and so on. And you don't have to continue to come back to these videos to study them. Now you come back to the videos to get the examples that I give you, the vocal examples I give you, and the demonstrations, but then you can take those and work a specific area at a time before moving on. And the glossary is extremely important simply because the words that I use in this course that you need to understand are in this glossary. And understanding the words of anything that you study is very, very important. There's no way for you to understand completely a subject without understanding the actual basic words of that subject. It would be like going to a foreign country and trying to understand what the other people are saying. They're saying all these words that you don't understand. So you can't get a concept or an idea of what they're saying. You can't think with, would you like some bread? And they're saying it in a different language. You're not seeing bread. You're not seeing a question. You don't even know what they're talking about. But if you understood the words they were saying, you would see in your mind bread, right? I'll demonstrate this. In your mind, right now, picture a puppy. Okay? Good. Got a puppy. Now we're talking about a puppy. You're petting the puppy, so forth and so on. Now, picture in your mind an atlatl. Do you know what an atlatl is? You get a big blank, right? Maybe you get the picture. Maybe you get a picture of the letters of a word that it could possibly be, but what's the concept? An atlatl was an instrument used by the Native Americans, like a big gigantic wooden spoon that they would put in the end of a spear to help them throw it longer. You've probably seen these things like people out of the dog park with these little things where they throw the tennis ball really long way because they've got this little plastic giant spoon that they're throwing the ball with. Well, that is an atlatl. So when I say, think of an atlatl, now you get the idea. So that's why it's important to go to the introduction and make sure that you get this glossary. That way, if you run into any words, you go, whoa, 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 Mike, what the heck did you just say? Well, you can look up the word and understand it. That's the introduction. Now, the first element of singing, as I said, is about you. Okay? And here, we're going to get into the biggest lie. And we're going to understand, this video is all about understanding what that lie is about singing that could probably or is stopping you or has stopped you in the past before you even got started, right? And which leads us into the barriers. All right? So what are the biggest barriers to singing? And they probably surprise you. Now, also we're going to get into stage fright, and we're going to get into the 3 areas of importance of what causes stage fright, and then how to handle them, so that when you're ready and you're ready to sing, you can get a handle on this. Now, breath control, it is what it is. We're talking about support, we're talking about breathing, we're talking about different types of breathing, and then we're talking about when to breathe when you're singing, which has a little bit to do with timing as well, right? Which you will also get access to the free membership area where I have a free course on how to sing in time with music, which can be very handy because that is a problem with some people. We went over conceptual placement a while ago, and I kind of described to you what it was all about. But in here, we're going to get into the concept of concepts and the it factor. This little text here, this little document is going to say, introduce you to what is the it factor. And the it factor being you either have it or you don't. Have you heard that phrase before? About people who are singing, it is usually said, you either have it or you don't. It's a load of crap. Okay? Then we're going to get into the concept of concepts. I'm going to give you some examples. I'm going to give you some demonstrations. And then I'm going to give you a drill to help you start learning how to get the concept of notes. And then also note placement. Remember I was talking about note placement, where to place the notes in relation to other notes so that you're actually singing and singing a song as opposed to just making funny noises. All right, what is a note? Now, you think you know what a note is, okay? You think you know what a note is by the definition you hear coming through your headphones when you're listening to a song. There's all these various notes and so forth and so on. But what is it really? At its core, it is sound. And if you understand that, and you understand how it relates to music by listening to it and understanding the difference in a specific manner that I show you in these drills, then you will get a much, much better understanding of what a note is and what tone is. And then what pitch is and distinct pitch. And then distinct pitch, and then how that relates to relative pitch and what relative pitch is. This is very important. This is all about singing in tune. Before we even get into pitch, down here in the third element of singing, we're getting into it right here. Okay? And then, of course, our definition of a note, which is going to be extremely important for you to understand so that when you approach any type of singing endeavor in any song that you want to sing, you're going to understand it better than any other singer that you probably know. Even if they are Berklee-trained musicians and singers, regardless, you're going to have a much better understanding, a fundamental understanding of what notes are. This is a little tool, a little mental tool called the ladder that's going to help you develop and fine-tune the ability to conceptually place notes in your mind. Okay? Now, I go into this in the course, but you have to understand that what I'm saying about getting a picture before you do something is not just me saying. It's been proven, okay, that I believe it was MIT that proved it. Anyway, the university is listed in the videos, but they actually did what's called an fMRI, which is a functional or functioning MRI, which takes images of the brain as it's functioning. And so when people were told to get the idea of walking out the door, then there was activity in the brain in the imagination center of the brain that was actually showing that they were thinking about it before they did it. Okay? So this is not some esoteric stuff here, as it may seem. It is actually proven science. And then, of course, the drills go on from there. Now, intonation. This is singing in tune. But what is singing in tune? Little hint, it has to do with frequency. And frequency is notes. When you understand this, understanding frequency and waves and so forth as it deals with singing, now we're getting to Nikola Tesla level of looking at stuff. Because that's what Nikola Tesla said. If you want to understand the universe, understand frequencies. Okay? It's actually pretty surprising. All right, now, and then of course we conclude that. And now you're ready, once you have an idea of the concept, what a note is, what singing in tune is, and you're able to produce frequencies, specific frequencies of pitch and relative pitch, right? Then we're going to get into singing in tune. We're going to dig into notes and start singing those notes using very simple techniques that have been around forever. There's a reason why in The Sound of Music that Julie Andrews, as the nun, was having these kids sing do, re, mi to teach them how to sing. And then understanding a little bit about music theory so that you can use a piano, either that you have one or online piano or on your phone. And then drills on singing those notes. Okay? And then this is going to be very basic stuff here. And then we're going to get into find your note and how we're going to do that. And how, these different singing techniques that you can use to find your range and then to sing in tune and be able to get into tune. And then there is the master pitch drill. 3 points of view, which I'm not going to do a spoiler here on that, but it's really, really, really cool. And then the actual master pitch. This is the singing drill that is this singing drill alone, okay, is where you can use these two different drills, the part 1 and part 2, to master pitch, to be singing in tune strongly, confidently, automatically, over and over and over again. And all of these videos, as you see, they come through, and I'm going to give you the intro, and then I'm going to give you the drill, and so forth and so on. So that is the third element of singing, which is pitch. Now we can sing in tune. These 3 elements are the beginning area. So if you're looking at doing just biting off the first part of this so that you can just if you're considered quote unquote tone deaf, which is a load of crap by the way, you are going to address these 3 elements before you move into the advanced elements. These are the beginner elements. Now when I say that singing, being tone deaf, as it said, is a load of crap, I mean it, because it's really simple. If you can you tell me which one I'm doing when I say I'm doing a question. Are we going to? I'm going to do a question, and then I'm going to do a statement, and then you tell me whether the first or the second one was the question. We're going to the store. We're going to the store. Which one of those was the question? Well, it was the second one, of course, because I went up in pitch at the end, and you heard that. If you can hear that, me going up in pitch at the end of the second sentence, as opposed to the first sentence, you are not tone deaf. The only separation is your ability to fine-tune your ear to those frequencies that are higher or lower. Not just big broad range like going up or going down, but fine-tuning it and then recreating it vocally. That's what's happening in the first element, the second element, and the third element. These are the beginner. Now we're going to get into the advanced elements and the advanced techniques. What is resonance? The fourth element of singing, resonance, is about those 3 zones of resonance I was telling you about. The throat voice, the mouth voice, and all of these singing drills, and the nose voice, okay? And to demonstrate that, throat voice, and then mouth voice, and then nose voice. Now those are very separate and distinct, but there is a way to train you in these drills. I'm going to show you how to do it. These drills show you how to do it, of how to train your voice to do those resonants specifically and separately, and you get those down cold before we get into mixing them, which is shaping sound. And the way we shape sound by mixing the resonances, going from the throat to the mouth to the nose, okay? And then really getting into advanced resonance modulation, because that's where you're modulating sound, and using vowels to shape the sound, because it's not just opening your throat and singing low, or opening your mouth and just singing la, or putting it up into the nose and singing la, right? It is also the other part, which I go over in the first element of singing, up here in vocal mechanics. I go into, it's not just your throat. It's not just your mouth or your nose. It's also your jaw. It's also your lips. It's also your tongue. And how you use those to shape the sound even further. Right? And making how to make specific sounds with the advanced resonance. I'm on the wrong one here. There you go. Advanced resonance modulation. And going with these vowels through the throat voice and mouth voice and nose voice and so forth, and the combinations and how to do the combinations, and then putting them into strings, right? And then doing drills that you can practice using a vowel box, which you'll see what that is. But hey, you know what? I'm going to take you in here. I'm going to have you look at this right now, because this is actually pretty cool. Once you get down to here, you're going to see that there is a box of vowels, and then using this drill, going, because you make sure you got to go do all these other ones first, those drills first, but you'll get to the point where you can then choose and modulate from different vowels and so forth and so on, right? Because shaping, as we show, is all about not just mixing the voices, but then shaping the voices with your mouth and your tongue and your jaw to make the proper sounds to sing any type of genre. That's where this comes into accents, right? And how to do accents with advanced resonance modulation. If you want to sing the blues, man, you got to sing the blues with an accent that's going to have a blues. If you want to sing country, you got to sing accent with country. You have to be able to sing that. You have to be able to shape those notes with your vowels to create that accent for that genre, and so forth and so on. Okay, and then finally, we're going to get into the sixth element of singing, okay? Dynamics. And what dynamics are. Dynamics are this is where singing becomes art, because this is where you employ vibrato and volume to convey emotional expression. Combinations of different types of vibrato, coming in a vibrato, out of vibrato, right? There's two different types of vibrato. There's pitch vibrato, going and there's amplitude vibrato or volume vibrato, increasing and decreasing volume, right? And then using volume, increase and decrease along with vibrato to convey emotional expression. All right, and then there's the course of the conclusion, which it is the conclusion. There's a concluding singing drill because there's an intro singing drill. Now, everything about singing, every professional singer, every famous singer, your favorite singer, when they sing, is doing nothing that cannot fit within these 6 elements of singing. So with these 6 elements of singing right here, okay, all 6 elements of these 6 elements of singing encompass everything there is about singing. And you can master and continue to master and continue to grow on each one of them, going over and over and over and over and over these drills, getting better and better and better and better and better and better at each one, until you are as good as your favorite singer. Okay? That is what singing from scratch is all about. Singing from scratch is about giving you tools, basic tools, hammer, nails, and 2x4 tools that you can use to continuously build upon a proper foundation, an excellent singing career. Not just singing voice, but being a singer, being able to perform, to be confident, to sing the songs you want to sing, and to convey the emotion you want to convey and get the audience response that you want to get. That's what singing from scratch is all about. All right. Well, that's pretty much the tour. And if you have any questions, of course, you can email me at michaelgraves@singingfromscratch.com, or you can set up, you can contact the help desk there in the right-hand corner of your screen or whatever you're looking at there for the little chat box. And you can also catch me up on Messenger at Singing From Scratch on Facebook and ask me any kind of questions you want before you sign up. If you have any questions at all, please ask them. I will answer. I always answer. Okay, that's about it. Hope to see you on the inside. And like I said, if you have any questions, contact me. Otherwise, sing on.
Sing on, yeah.